What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Geeks and Company and another episode of the After Show. That's right. Today we are talking about Strange New World, Season 2, Episode 6, Lost in Translation. And wow, were they ever lost? Before we get going, my compadre.
Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody.
I mean, I'm going to start calling you Akka, I think. How's it going, Akka?
Akka, very worky week, but we're surviving. Before we get started, as usual, as always, spoilers abound. Here there be. So please make sure you go watch the episode and then you come back and you watch the after show as well. If you want to make sure that you're not missing any of our programming, regardless if it's this or the podcast or the rants or the build videos or anything, hit that subscribe button at the bottom and make sure you hit that notification bell too, so that you always get informed when we go with anything we're going to be producing here on YouTube, because we're doing it every week. We're getting back to some stuff too, like the rants and some more build videos and such. And hey, there's some cons coming up too. You're going to be seeing us live for some con floors coming up real soon, so stay tuned for that. But
we've got three big cons, like
back to back. Yeah,
like we're at Fan Expo, and then 2 weeks later at London, and then 2 weeks later in Windsor. So
bananas.
It's gonna be busy months for sure.
So watch this space for sure. And throw a like and a comment down below too. Let us know how you felt about this particular episode. I gotta say, it was another banger. I mean, these guys just can't really do anything wrong. Like, even when it seems like we've talked before about like a filler-ish episode, like nothing plot really moves forward in this episode, but it doesn't matter. It was just so brilliantly executed and so well done and so well acted. And yeah, dude, it was fantastic.
Yeah, quick spoiler ahead of time. First of all, Bruce Horak is back in this episode as Hammer. For those that don't know, obviously Hammer dies in season 1, is replaced by I keep forgetting her name.
Pelia.
There you
Carol
go.
Kane, played brilliantly by Carol Kane,
who had actually a great episode this week. Actually, there was a little bit of character development between her and Una, which was kind of neat, because you do find out that Pelia was a teacher at the academy when Una was there, who gave her a C.
Who also taught our boy Hammer as well, and actually even said, yeah, he was just average, but look how far he went. Like, she's very brusque and blunt and to the point and doesn't really pull any punches, and called Una out even. Like, you don't like, it's not because I gave you a C. You don't like me because I represent the fact that Hammer died. That's why I'm here, and that's why you don't like me. And to her credit, man, Rebecca Romaine Stamos did a great job with showing some emotion here, which she's usually pretty tightly wound in these episodes as the first officer, but that one she let her a little bit of emotion come out, and it was a cool little scene between her, and all the scenes between her and Pelia were great. They were few and far between, but they were well placed.
There weren't a lot of them, but it was good. It helped both characters move forward, I think. But Zombie Hammer, I mean, for fuck's sakes, dude, we need a whole episode of this. I keep saying it. We need a horror Trek show.
The whole time, I'm like, you've been crowing for this horror Trek show since I've known you, and now you finally get sort of the first glimpses of it.
It was dope when she turns around in the elevator and she sees him. My heart freaking stopped. Not only was it Hammer, but it was Zombie Hammer. Like,
it sure was.
Frick? Oh yeah,
is that our first?
Really loved it.
Is that our first zombie on Star Trek? Like overall?
No, I feel like in Enterprise there was an episode where there were zombies as well.
Okay.
But they weren't zombies per se. Like, this was a proper zombie.
That dude was a zombie.
In the true sense of 100%. What her imagination would imagine as a zombie. So let's clear things up. Hammer is not back. Hammer is still dead. This is all in her head. An alien race who happens to live in the nebula that they're collecting the deuterium. So there's an alien life form that lives within the deuterium, and they're trying to communicate with her. But again, that's the whole point of the title, Lost in Translation. She doesn't understand what they're trying to communicate to her until she realizes what's going on. And her mind is creating images, hallucinations, to represent what this alien race is trying to communicate to her, and death, right? That's what they're trying to communicate to her. You're killing us by showing her the dead Hammer image, right?
Yep.
At the end, when they figure it out and they resolve the problem, Hemmer turns back into regular Hemmer, and he gives her a smile and a nod, and then he disappears. So dope.
No, fantastic. Two things really struck out me with this episode, though. Two things that they don't actually talk about a whole lot in Star Trek overall. Refueling the ship, like the ship running on a fuel, like when they go through the nebula and the nacelles open up and they're refueling, we never hear about them being close to fuel. Even deuterium, I know I've heard the word before, but usually it's dilithium crystals that at least fuel the warp drive.
Yeah.
So maybe just for the impulse they need the deuterium. I don't know. Interesting that they almost never talk about fueling the ship. And then the other Hemmer moment was cool. It was a pre-recorded video that he had made Uhura about running a diagnostics on the communications antenna. We rarely see that in Star Trek 2, where it's literally just a pre-recorded video that someone has just made for somebody else. And when it first came on, I was like, am I remember it? Like, is this like initially for the first 5 seconds? I'm like, oh, this is just a scene that they've recreated. I'm like, no. They brought him back and put him back in the makeup and had them shoot that scene. And it was a great way to bring Hemmer back without bringing Hemmer back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Another character that was back this week that I know I keep saying I don't want to be too involved in this show, but I thought was actually a really good fit for this specific episode was Lieutenant, or no, he's not Lieutenant anymore. He's Commander, or he's going to become Commander James T. Kirk. He's been named the first officer of the Farragut. He's not first officer yet, like you said.
A couple months. Got to train his replacement, he said.
Correct. But he is going to be the youngest first officer in Starfleet history. And he's on board because the Farragut happens to be there as well. Right? Yes. Farragut is at the space station where they're trying to mine or process the deuterium. And one thing leads to the next, and then Kirk comes on board and he meets the crew and starts interacting with Uhura, but also with
his brother.
I can't believe I forget her name.
He barely has anything with La'an. They really only have one scene.
But they have
together.
That one scene.
They do.
And
I was kind of waiting. Yeah, I was waiting for them to stretch that out, and they were cagey about it. They didn't. They're still kind of teasing whatever connection we're going to see between them. In fact, when they meet, she calls him out, and Pike is there, and Pike is like, "Oh, do you know him?" And she's like, "It would take too long to explain to you right now, Captain," or something along those lines. So it's like it's weird that she even hinted at the fact that some timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly stuff going on here. By the way, I thought the interactions between James Kirk and Sam Kirk were fantastic, by the way.
Amazing.
Very cool brotherly thing. Clearly the one brother is jealous of the other brother. We hear about George Kirk, who was the previous youngest first officer ever in Starfleet, the father of James Kirk and George Samuel Kirk, who goes by Sam. So that little rivalry they have going back and forth was a nice little nod. I always like seeing Sam back just because of that glorious mustache he has when he's on the show. And couldn't be any different from his brother.
A little bit of brother jealousy there, right? Like
a little bit,
like his brother's making him look bad because he's even better than their dad, and he's like, dude, like you're making me look, and then he's like, what,
yeah, like what am I supposed to do?
What does my ambition have to do with you, right?
I went into command, you went into the sciences. This is how it works. Like, what do you want me to do? Say no to a promotion because my brother might be upset?
Yeah, he's like, it's not my fault you're stuck in a lab. He's like, what do you mean stuck?
No. And it's cool to see clearly how they're starting to involve Kirk very initially with the key Enterprise cast and crew, because this whole episode is Kirk and Uhura together. He gets on the ship and you're assuming he's going to pair up with La'an and they're going to like do whatever figure. No. He's with Uhura pretty much the whole time, right up until the very cheeky, very cool end scene when they're in the bar
where Spock
comes over and they shake hands and they zoom in on Kirk and Spock shaking hands, and then Spock sits down and you get the three crew members sitting at the table together, starting to forge that bond that we know is going to pay off later on with the entirety of Star Trek. So yeah, very, very cool without it feeling like they're forcing it down our throats. Like it felt natural. It felt like an evolution. Like Uhura and Kirk meet by him hitting on her in a bar and then her punching him in the face when she thinks he's a hallucination. So it didn't feel like they were jamming them together just for the sake of.
That line in the bar, I don't need anybody hitting on me right now.
Right.
I thought was kind of genius considering literally TV's first interracial kiss is between Kirk and Uhura,
And
right?
he's
Literally.
he's known to be a ladies' man, right? At least
For
on the
sure.
original show. I don't know if he's at that point in his career yet, because he gets the sense, because he's like, oh, you're friends with Sam. She's like, I don't want to be hit on right now. And he's like, oh, you're friends with Sam. Clearly, Sam's been talking out of school here about what a lady killer I am, kind of thing. So yeah, so that was cute and funny. Yeah, this episode really vacillated between fun, cheeky, cute moments. Like I feel like that's Carol Kane's whole point in the show is to lighten the mood every now and then when things get too heavy and too deep, because this is a heavy, deep episode. Like,
it is.
It looks like she's going crazy and she's really struggling to get anyone to believe her that this is going on. And initially, it's only Kirk that actually believes that there's something happening, and then they track down the other gentleman that's experiencing the same thing. Now, I don't know if they really go into why it's just these two officers that end up being the conduit for this alien race or species. Some little thing to say, well, like a certain thing in your DNA or brain pattern is why they chose you.
I think that's what they were referring to, right? There's something in his brain that was the same as hers.
Yeah.
Right. But at the end, it wasn't. Right. There were things that matched the two brains, but how she figured it out is where it was killing one thing for him, it was amplifying it for her. And that's that's when she realized, oh, wait a second. Is somebody trying to communicate? Wait a second. You know what I mean? Like, that's where it all started making sense, right?
No,
but
absolutely.
That one bit didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Destroying the space station didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Firing 42 torpedoes at it didn't make sense to me. Like,
well, it's a big station.
Well, it's a big station, but you could have just blown up the fucking reactor without.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
one torpedo at the reactor, the thing would have blown. But the other part of it is
listen, this isn't a Death Star.
Shut
You're
down
in the
machine.
Universe,
you don't have to destroy the whole space station.
No, that's what they said. They couldn't shut it down. They kept trying to shut it down. The shutdown procedures were not working, right? Yeah.
But you could have destroyed the machine itself without destroying the whole space station. Is the point I'm trying to make? Right.
I guess
either way,
they wanted to be. I will say, I like it. I like the fact that everything looks modern and new, because it has to, because it can't look like the original series. But then that torpedo sound, that is the original series torpedo sound.
Yes.
That was dope. That completely took me back.
The phasers are the original series phasers as well. That scene where the pilot Ortega's, when she flies through the rock.
Yes.
She fires at the rock.
That's right.
You can hear that.
Whatever
the phaser sound is, I can't make it. But
no, for
it's
sure.
The original phaser sound as well. So that I think
that's cool. On. Yeah.
The transporter sound is the original series transporter sounds.
Yeah.
Like, I like how they make us feel like it's that ship, even though visually it's different, right?
We upgraded the things that needed to be upgraded for the visual aesthetic, but we keep some of these special effects kind of things because we know that's where you guys live, and we want to make sure you understand that's the story we're telling.
Yeah.
This is Pike's essentially second 5-year mission.
But yeah, back to this episode. Another banger of an episode. Again, not an episode that moves any kind of real plot forward, but again, I feel like it's not what Strange New Worlds is about. It's not about moving a ton of plot forward, right?
Speaking of plot, we do get one little scene between Spock and Chapel as sort of a continuation from last week.
Yeah.
Where Spock's like, we have to tell Starfleet that we're, and she's like, I don't want to do that. That's just going to ruin it. Let's just keep this our thing between us, and we'll just see where it goes, which is a very human response. And you can see Spock kind of reeling a little bit, like, this isn't logical. Like, for most Vulcans, things either are or they're not. There's not a lot of gray area in Vulcan logic because they just logic everything down. To him, we're together. Logically, we have to tell Starfleet because we're fraternizing in the chain of command. And she's like, let's not do that. Let's just kind of keep doing what we're doing. And to his credit, he goes along with it. So he doesn't look terribly happy or comfortable with it, but he goes along with it. And I'm starting to wonder if that ends up being the point of contention between them. It's not really given a chance to blossom and grow because they have to kind of keep it on the down
we know
low.
He ends up marrying T'Pring, right?
That's what I mean. And we know she
in the original series, right?
And she ends up engaged to another guy as well. We already know this doesn't work. So I think they're starting to lay the seeds of why eventually it doesn't work. Even kind of cushioning the blow a little bit for us with Christine saying like, maybe it'll be a thing, maybe it won't. We'll just kind of see what happens and where it goes. So I think this is going to be a lovely little fling, and he'll have some explaining to do to praying for the fling, the thing with the fling with the praying.
I think it's going to be a reoccurring theme for the rest of this show's run. I don't think him and her are going to like fall apart until late in this show's run, I think.
Christine, him and Chapel, you mean?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they're going to keep that going because it's a dynamic that works. They have a chemistry on screen.
They 100%
that can't be denied.
No, agreed.
So I think it's never going to be, I think, a main overarching arc.
Right.
But you're going to get tidbits in the different episodes. We may even get full episodes again based on their relationship.
The two of them. Yeah, maybe.
For it to eventually fall apart because we know that he is eventually going to go through Ponfar,
yeah,
and then is going to end up marrying T'Pring, right?
Yeah.
So, so yeah, but it was a nice little touch for sure.
Yeah,
and I liked her, man. She blew my mind last week.
Oh no, she's fantastic.
Was it last week or the week before? I can't remember now, but
I think it was last week.
It was last week. She was awesome.
No, she's fantastic.
I hope we get more of her.
Agreed.
In this show.
Yep.
And I hope they somehow find another way to bring Hemmer back for another flashback or something.
That was pretty cool.
It was fantastic to see
didn't
him.
Hate that. I'm just sad we've only got 4 episodes left. The season's been fantastic for me. I know for some people it's been a little bit up and down, but for me, it's been a steady rise every week. They did reference the Gorn again, so I do think that is what's building towards the ultimate big bad in the show is going to be the Gorn. I still don't know if I know you'd said we were never going to see them. I think we will. I don't know if we're still even going to see them by the end of this season. I think they're really going to tease out the Gorn for us. So
I don't think so. I feel like the way they're going this season, they're probably going to do another like they did last year where they're going to show us a little bit, but we're not really going to see like a whole crew of Gorns.
Right. Yeah,
like standing on a bridge, talking to. We're not going to see that for sure.
I agree, and I'm cool with that. Keep the mystique a little bit. Keep them a little bit of a mystery. Yeah. But again, I'd like to see that nice little space battle towards the end. I'd like them to get into a little scrap of the Gorn.
I think we're going to see. Yeah, that I think because there was in the original trailer, the first trailer that came out for season 2, there was a space battle scene.
Right.
And they never showed us who was attacking the Enterprise, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's
it ends up
a Gorn battle.
Yeah. Yep, I can see it.
But I don't. Again, if they're going to treat the Gorn like they treated the Borg in Next Gen, it's going to be a slow crawl. We're never going to get 2, 3, 4, 5 episodes with the Gorn, especially considering we only have 10 episodes versus Next Gen that had 26 a season.
No, 100%.
Right. And they only threw us one Borg episode every season, so we may or may not even get a Gorn episode this season.
No, agreed. It was just interesting that they've dropped them twice already this season without showing them. They keep referencing them. I don't think that's a mistake. They're not talking about the Klingons. Well, they did for that one episode.
No, there's going to be Romulans. A big thing with the Gorn, but when that happens, I think it's going to be a slow build up until it explodes, and then there's going to be this big deal,
a huge thing. No, agreed. I'd be even fine if they did a best of both worlds. Like I would
if they did a 2-parter. That would be amazing. That's the one thing Star Trek doesn't do anymore is end the season on a cliffhanger and start it with the second part because they never know now, right? It's not like before. You got to remember when Next Gen was on the air, they were in syndication, right? So they knew they were getting renewed. They had already been signed on for 7 seasons. So when they were creating the season finale, they already knew they were back for the next season. But now with these stupid streaming services, they never fucking know if they're going to be back or not, right? So it's tough to create a 2-parter and end the season on a cliffhanger, not knowing if it's going to be the last episode you ever make.
No, that's fair.
Yep. So, yeah. But I hope that they do. I would love to see that. A Best of Both the Worlds style episode with the Gorn where shit goes to hell in the season finale and it doesn't get resolved until the next year. Yeah, that's typical Star Trek season finales for sure.
I need it. Yep.
Yeah. I think that's going to be it for this episode, though. Folks, like we said at the top of the show, if you haven't already clicked like and subscribe, please make sure you do. It really helps us out. Costs you absolutely nothing. Click the notification bell. It'll always let you know every time we upload a new video or we go live. That's right. We go live once a week on our podcast every Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I say every Thursday, except for this week. We are not live this week. By the time you see this, it'll already be gone. But make sure you check us out. Click the like and subscribe, notification bell. Is that it?
That's
going to
it.
be it for this week, everybody. Make
Take
sure you
us out,
stay
buddy.
geeky, and we'll see you next time.
May the force be with you.
See, I was waiting for that.